guess most people will always first ask why I make a Malay film. Why? So maybe I talk about it. For me, it wasn't because of the idea of like to make a national film or because I'm Malaysian I want to make a Malay film. For me, it was very personal. I grew up in a Malay village, and we are the only Chinese family in the village. So the film is shot in my village. I had been always wanting to make film in my village or to tell our family story, but it was always very difficult. I don't know, I never get to do it well and all that. But the whole idea started me to think of wanting to make film. It started from my second sister. She actually, when we were, she was 16, which means I was 12, and she was, I think she saw Ho Xiao Xian's 童年往事, and there was this grandmother like going aha aha or something. So she thought that was like our grandmother, and she thought we should make a film about our grandmother. And she have described the scene. We live on the beach. The beach that you saw Namron was running, our house is just slightly above, and when we are in the fishing business, and when the fishing boat came back, my grandmother will bring the buffalo cart, and we will bring all the fishes up to our factory or something. So the first scene was the buffalo cart on the beach, and my grandmother was on the cart, and all the kids will be like running after her, jumping on the cart or things like that. She actually already know what to shoot or what was the image, and then we are like, and no one know actually how to make a film or what it meant to make a film, or there's not even the idea of you need a camera or any of the thing. But yeah, when I first started making film, my second short film was shot in the village. It's called Hometown. It's very simple. It's just an essay film of me shooting things that I remember of my hometown. And then there was another film called South of South, also about my family in the hometown. And there's always this idea of I want to tell the story of my, actually not hometown, my kampung, my village. But because of many reasons, it's not possible for me to make like the story about my family in the village. It's very hard to get the look or the people. So I actually gave up on that, and I just tell a story about some of my childhood friends or people that I know, or some memories I had with the place. So the film is more about the place itself. It's maybe more about my own memories with the place, and I remember everything was like so beautiful, so good, and that's why the film is in two parts. The first part was when they talk about the childhood, it's all just nice and beautiful, mythical, mermaid and all that. And the second part, it's not really them, but it's quite a mixed thing. It's actually how the village is now. When I go back, I'm always quite shocked, like why it looks so different from what I remember, and the life of the kids is so different from what I remember or what I thought it would be. There's so much, actually there's a lot of drug abuse. There's the kids actually wanting to act for my film just so that they have some money to buy parts to modify their motorbike. They stop to school and things like that. It's very different from how I remember the childhood in the kampung and all that. So the biggest difference of the first part and the second part is the second part is very more gritty and all that. The first part is more like maybe looking back at a distance, or maybe it was really how it was. But yeah, so that's the biggest reason why the style are different. I think that's all.
Anyone have any questions? I think that the film should raise a lot of questions. Comments?
Just a short question. Why are there so many night scenes? Right? They are beautifully shot. Night scenes. So many of them, right?
The first part is night. It's actually just one night. They go out at night and then he disappear. And it is true, it is so difficult, especially I have a crazy idea that I want to light the scene on the sea only with the moonlight. So we have to wait for the full moonlight, and we can only use the 3 nights because it's very bright enough. And that's why it's the first part, I forgot how long. It's actually, you have to be shot in the 3 or 4 nights to have the moonlight. That's the, maybe, yeah, this is the crazy part. But I'm quite happy because it is also a very important memory for me, like living in a kampong on a full moon night, that you can see everything so clearly and bright, and it is not something you can not many people have that kind of experience, to experience moonlight. So I'm trying to bring the moonlight into the cinema. It's like a dream, but you actually really see the moonlight. It's actually, there's not really any reason, just for you to experience the real moonlight and
I want to share my, because I really like the way you show the time in the cinema, and like in some scene, like when the guy diving into the sea, it takes 3 minutes, and then another 3 minutes. So actually, it's already 6 minutes for the audience to wait. And also in some scene, it's very, it takes a little bit long time for the audience to see the whole scene. And also, like when you talk about the moonlight, you need to, when you want to shoot the scene, you need to wait for the moon to go into the sky. Right? So can you talk more about your idea of the time in the cinema? And I also feel the time is very different from other films, like in the 丹绒马林有棵树, yeah, the one of your short film. So can you talk more about it? Thank you.
Yeah, I think these 2 examples, I don't think I use in other film, but these 2 I have like the most complaint of like using the real time. So in A Tree in Tanjung Malim, when the girl waiting for the guys to go up to bring a book, it was real time, and we actually waited together with her, like the same timing, like, and it was my very early film, so a lot of people will give me advice in editing, like you can actually do this, you can actually dissolve it to compress time and things like that. But of course now I don't get that type of like advice and all that. Is I think from the beginning, I really like certain type of timing, and I'm quite clear. And I know it's not fair to waste the audience time, but I like to have them experience the time together, or to experience the waiting. I know it demands a lot from the audience, and sometimes I do hope they get something in return. Not always, but I do think that is like a necessary device. In A Tree in Tanjung Malim, there's a very like after the waiting, then the camera start moving, or something like I try to give a bit of transformation or a bit more progress. And this one was like, after the waiting, of course, then is the second part, then is again a different thing. So it also have a change after the long wait. I don't think in other film I use, but it's quite often you have to be very confident because it is for sure it's very boring. And especially this one, I didn't think I do it well because when we shooting, actually we have a lot of divers under the boat. What happened was that they all, of course, they can't last so long, so they will go down and there's a diver waiting at the bottom to pass them the oxygen to keep them calm and wait for 3 minutes, then only they come up. So to have all this arrangement is not easy, and that night the moonlight was blocked by the cloud, and also the water level goes so much higher than we expected because these are a lot of scientific, because of this film I studied all the tides pattern and all that. So on the moon night is what we call the air pasang besar, because it's usually maybe is this level or is this level. So when we go recce, at the time maybe the water is this level, but on a full moon night it can be 3 times more. So we are actually the water. We are actually standing in the water for the scene, but the water is over our head, so we have to keep adding things to be higher or things. So it's I have so I have someone here who was with us on the scene. He was the intern at the time, helping the camera department. I don't remember a lot of details now, but probably he can remember more. It was crazy to shoot. It was on an island, and we want to shoot during full moon and all these tides and all that. It's crazy because of the moon phase, right? It's the I person, like the highest and the lowest tide during full moon. And I don't know. So what was the thing? Yeah. So it wasn't perfect, but I have to do it, and it is not enough light. So this is quite a problematic scene during editing, like to keep it or not. But the behind the scene is quite crazy. We should make a documentary out of it. But yeah, we didn't. I think we can ask Li Ling to say something. Li Ling was an intern at the time, and then he came to study in Taiwan, and now he's like a cinematographer for many good Malaysian short films, and probably he can remember more about shooting at night on the island.
I remember we always having barbecue.
Don't tell me about that. Actually, we are all like in bikinis, like everyone is on holiday mood, getting suntan on the beach. But yeah. Like most of the photos looks like that, like we are picnic. Okay, but it's a lot of hard work, right?
Yes. Actually, I want to say something.
Yeah.
Hello, hi. So this is my second time to watch the film. So my first time is like 10 years ago, like at the KLCC. It's the first premiere screening, right?
Yeah.
At the KLCC. Yeah, so I really appreciate that I joined this film and as an intern because it's got a lot of fun and we got a very hard time, and also right now I only can reimagine that we got a lot of happy times, and the result is quite very good, and I really like the movies, the ideals of the moonlight. Because on that time, for the technology, the camera's technology is very hard to shoot at the moonlight. And I love the DO, the DP. He also the Malaysian. Yeah, so he got the idea to shoot in the DSLR, the 5D Mark II. It's very advanced thinking from that time. So it's like
Actually, it was me who insists of 5D Mark II.
Oh,
You wanted the red
yeah.
cam, but red cam is not the ISO is not high enough.
yeah, the first straight camera is like
Yeah.
320 ISO only.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, to be honest, Tio was not the first one I asked because he was actually living in Jakarta at the time. Tio is like the best cinematographer from Malaysia. He shot all the Hoyoham film, and he also shot what you saw this morning, the Lusing Tak Lelaki Harapan Dunia. So you can see he's like his cinematography have this certain he's the best. But before that, actually, because of some friend, I got a Dutch cinematographer who actually came over for research and all that, and he told me he doesn't like Mark II, and he really don't think we can shoot with moonlight, and he asked me to do day for night, to shoot day for night, and I was against that, and so then it didn't work out. But it was also funny because before he talked to me, I told him, I'm not too technical, I leave everything to the DP. But then when we have this, it's like, you are very technical, because I demanded like we try moonlight and we try the Mark II, and I don't want the day for night look. So then Tio was the one who actually opened to the idea, although he doesn't really use Mark II, but he's very easy. He is someone like so with Yu Hang, he has like big production, he can do it, but maybe with James Lee, when he's just shooting a simple mini DV with no lighting, he also will accept, he like all the challenges. So his attitude is actually very easy, and was quite crazy. For the Mark II, he doesn't have any gadget, he just use it this way. Like for us, it's like God. And the reason why I used Mark II was a bit strange because like just a few months before that, I actually met Sunji Iwai in Russia, and he was doing a lot of testing on the Mark II camera, and he's like a real geek. He do a lot of tests and do a lot of things himself. So he actually sent me his test. Like I think it was before Vampire. So it was because of him I know Mark II can do it.
That's why you are the icon of the new wave.
Was the underwater scene shot in the daytime? Because there was more light underwater than at the boat.
Yeah, underwater, no choice. We have to shoot during day. It needs a lot of light.
Hello. Hello, thank you so much for the film. I really enjoyed it. This is my first time actually watching it, although I'm part of the organizing committee. But it's great that we were actually talking about moonlight instead of sunlight, because sunlight can be disorientating. When we actually looking directly at the sunlight, it can be like, cannot stand it. But then with moonlight, it's more alluring, it's a temptation. But then it's just when actually talking about it. So maybe the question is like, I really love how it's actually like a semi-documentary. Hello. Yeah, it's actually like a semi-documentary almost at the end, where two kids is it's like just their everyday life. But then again, the first or the second part is where like the myth-making process comes in, where they actually like the reality actually give the myth-making process some kind of meaning. So are you looking at like reaffirming the myth over there, like the story, the folklore and whatnot? Yeah, how important is those kind of stories to your film?
I think growing up in the village, a lot of part of our life is like related with myth, and sometimes those myths are just invented like instantly. So a lot of the story are like my own childhood thing, although it doesn't originated this way, like the Tiger Man. So we kids likes to play and run around the village freely. And then one day we go across the river, and then there was this man like with very sharp teeth and like trying to attack us. So we went home, and my mom said, "Yeah, that's the tiger man. You should not cross the river." But of course, she knew it was one of our tokong. His name is Ali. And all these things became like some mythical thing in the childhood, because we really thought, yeah, there's a tiger man across there, and then there's mermaid in the next village. Or the mermaid part is also real. In our family album, there is like an image of like a black and white photo, like a mermaid, like what you saw, but it's black and white. And my father actually bought that photo from someone from Cherating. Cherating is our next village. We are just next to Cherating. And they found a mermaid on the beach, so they took a photo. Many years later, I think from a newspaper or something, I saw that picture again in this Rain Margaret's reverse mermaid. It's so strange because the photo that I thought is from the village next to me is actually just a reproduction photo from Rain Margaret, the reverse mermaid. My father just got cheated. But for a long time in my childhood, that's my idea of mermaid. Like I didn't see Disney Little Mermaid first, but I saw the Rain Margaret first, or things like that. There's a lot of strange things because we live in a world that's like not exposed to so much information, so we believe in a lot of, not like a standard myth, because a lot of them are invented by my family, and it affect me a lot also. So it's a lot in honor to the memories. Also, there's small detail like you see the crab eating the sand. That's one of my pastime. Yeah, if you wait long enough, they will come out and then they will start eating the sand. And yeah, so a lot is actually just about the place. It's not so much the narrative.
Anyone else? Kristen?
Actually, I have many questions, but I just try to raise two. Right. The first one has to do with Hou Xiaoqian, because just now you mentioned Hou Xiaoqian's 20 year Time to Live and Time to Die. Exactly, watching this film just now, it was this film that crossed my mind, right? Because like Hou Xiaoqian's film, Time to Live, Time to Die, your film is slow paced, right? A lot of long takes, right? And then it's like the camera is thinking, brooding, remembering things. It goes very, very slowly. Now, I don't want to say that you have been influenced by Hou Xiaoqian, but in a way, since you are aware of him, it seems to me that you are having a dialogue with him in this film, because this is also your memory of your childhood, because Hou Xiaoqian's film, 童年往事 means memory of childhood, right? So I wonder how you would talk about Hou Xiaoqian's film, but particularly this film by Hou Xiaoqian. Right, that's my first question. Please respond to that first.
It's actually always hard to tell where your influences from and the references from, especially in Malaysia. We actually see a lot of different things. Hou Xiaoqian, I must say, actually, I didn't even finish watching the entire film, but it was actually showing on TV, and I saw the grandmother part, and it was maybe the part that get my sister, and it is an important starting. But my film reference was quite funny. The first part I told my DP is, but yeah, it doesn't have the effect, but I told him I want like L'Avventura Antonioni. So like we keep like doing this, like the wave hit on the rock and okay, it's not, what's the... So like these people walking on the island, on the rock and all that. But he has very good like his own set and the movement and all that. The second part is, I think more Southeast Asian like, or more Apichapong. So it was not, when I was making it, it was not Hosao Sen that I was thinking. But of course the starting of it, about childhood and all that, I'm sure it had, maybe at the back of my head, it has the influence. Yeah, don't tell people about the Antonion, which we failed.
I thought I remember seeing a treatment, and I remember your treatments are kind of brief and stuff. And the first part, the dialogue came off so naturally. How did you work with the actors to translate that into this logat, this dialogue, the dialect?
The whole dialogue part is actually quite a long process because I first wrote in Chinese and then English, and then I got a friend, Noazam, to translate the dialogue to Malay. And then again I have, what's this professional? He was in UM and then Brunei. Wan Zawawi, because he's from Terengganu, and then again he translates from the Malay dialogue to the Terengganu Logat. And then he also have to coach us to speak Terengganu, although I'm from there, but I forgot. Well, I'm not very good. So they all have to learn Terengganu, Logat Terengganu, which, yeah, you can see the difference with the first part and the second part where the kids speak. There's still quite difference. It's not that easy to learn. So the rehearsal took about 3 weeks, 4 weeks. And the rehearsal was, not only just the dialogue, but also to live in the kampong and all that also. Actually, the craziest thing, or the most fun I had was like, because we have to shoot on the sea, so I want to make sure everyone can swim. So I actually have to teach Azman Hassan to swim because when he was 5 years old, he almost drowned, so he actually had water phobia. And I took like 1 or 2 months to teach him to swim. Then, yeah.
That's why you started with him in the water.
That's Namron, but Azman very from totally cannot swim to he could dive into the water and yeah, with no fear and all that. And I teach my assistant director, actually I teach about 4 people to swim. I'm quite a good teacher in swimming. No, I don't swim well, but I know how to train people not to fear water and to learn the basic, how to breathe, how to move and all that. That's something I'm still very proud of, especially with Azman, with Pokme. Yeah, because after that he was asked to play another role. It's about these terrorists who swim across from Singapore to Malaysia. Mat Selamat, Mas Selamat. Yeah. Then he can use that swimming skill. Also, Miss Fina, I taught her to swim, and then after that she started her homeless project where she lived on the beach and all that. Was also quite very much because of this film. So, if my film didn't do anything but my swimming lesson actually helped quite a few people. This is my next promise.
I've seen this 3 times now because I saw it twice at Busan, and I think that the scene that it always stays with me is the morning, the grandmother in the morning where she opens the windows and is waiting for breakfast with the cassette tape. It's utterly exquisite, and it's just as beautiful as I remember it. I think that's really that's the heart of the film.
Yeah, and in films, quite often you have to be lucky because in that scene when the grandmother waiting for them to return, and the rain started, it's really just by chance. And the music was written by Azmia Yuno. He's actually also film professor and at the same time like a singer-songwriter and like a Malaysian Bob Dylan.
Hi. I would like to ask, why is this film called Year Without a Summer? And the second question is that since it's the story about your hometown, and I would like to know why did you choose